Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. This time, we're digging into a hidden threat to crops, something that can really make or break a farmer's success. We're talking about phytotoxicity. And to help us unpack all of this, we've got some really cool research from Farmonaut, an ag tech company that's using satellite imagery to, well, kind of give farmers a superpower.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, it's like giving them X-ray vision for their crops, Farmonaut can help farmers spot problems early on, sometimes even weeks before you could see it just walking through the fields.
Yeah, and that kind of early warning, I imagine, that can make all the difference between a healthy harvest and a whole lot of lost sleep, probably.
Way.
So let's get into it. Phytotoxicity, it sounds kind of intimidating, but basically it's when plants get poisoned, right?
That's a pretty good way to put it, though we're not usually talking about, some disgruntled botanist with a vendetta or something.
Right.
Most of the time, the culprit is agricultural chemicals, things that are actually supposed to help the plants but end up harming them if they're not used exactly right.
So it's like accidentally giving your houseplant a double dose of fertilizer. Good intentions, bad outcome. And our source material here, it mentions a bunch of things that can cause this. Improper use of pesticides and fertilizers. That seems like the most obvious one, right?
For sure. I mean, using the wrong chemical for your crop, mixing chemicals that shouldn't be mixed, or even just getting the amount wrong, those are all classic phytotoxicity traps.
And it's not just about what you do, but also about the W you're trained, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
spraying during a heat wave, for example. Doesn't that kind of amplify the damage?
Absolutely, yeah. High temperatures make plants way more sensitive, more susceptible to any kind of chemical damage. They're already stressed out, and then we hit them with another whammy.
Yeah.
But it's not always so straightforward, right? Sometimes it's not what you're doing now, but it's something that was done before, like residual contamination in the soil from previous applications,
Oh, interesting.
or even drift from a neighboring field. So it's not always the farmer's fault.
Right. It's not always something that's directly under their control, which I bet a lot of people don't realize. Okay, but how do you even know if you're dealing with phytotoxicity? What should farmers be looking for?
Well, that's the tricky part. The symptoms can be kind of sneaky, They can look like other problems, nutrient deficiencies, or even diseases.
Right.
But some common red flags would be things like leaf curling, maybe yellowing or wilting, unusual growth patterns, or even just the plants not performing as well as they should. Like they're trying to tell you something's wrong, but in plant language.
Exactly. And unfortunately, by the time those symptoms are obvious, the damage might already be pretty bad.
Right, exactly. That's where Farmonaut's satellite imagery comes in. That's the beauty of this technology. It's not just about seeing the problem, it's about seeing it before it gets out of hand.
So it's like having an early warning system for your entire farm.
Exactly. Farmonaut can pick up on really subtle changes in plant health, things you'd never see just walking through the field. They're analyzing wavelengths of light that tell us how stressed the plants are. It's like we've cracked their secret code.
Wow, that's incredible. So they can spot a problem before any visible symptoms even show up.
That's the idea. And that early detection is everything, because the sooner you know something's wrong, the sooner you can do something about it and hopefully minimize the damage.
Okay, so let's say the worst happens and you do have a case of phytotoxicity. What can you do to, I don't know, reverse the damage? It's not like you can just give the plant an aspirin.
No, it's definitely more complicated than that. First things first, you got to figure out what caused it, what that chemical culprit is, and then immediately stop applying it, of course. And then you got to focus on helping the plants recover. Sometimes you can flush the soil to dilute any residues that are still there, or you can apply activated charcoal to try and absorb some of those chemicals. It's like a detox for the soil.
So there is hope.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, yes. But you have to act fast. And again, that's where Farmonaut comes in. It can pinpoint exactly where the damage is and how bad it is, so farmers can target their efforts much more effectively.
So it's not just seeing the problem. It's about understanding its scope and being strategic with your response.
Yeah.
That level of precision just seems like a game changer.
It is, absolutely. Traditional scouting methods just can't compete with that.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about how this technology can help prevent phytotoxicity in the first place.
All right, now we're getting to the really interesting part.
Yeah, this is where it gets really exciting.
We've talked about how Farmonaut helps farmers react to problems, right? But the real power is in preventing those problems from happening in the first place. Remember all those factors we talked about earlier, like choosing the right chemicals, applying them at the right time, all of that? Well, Farmonaut takes those best practices and turbocharges them. They can analyze years of data from the farm, past weather patterns, soil conditions, how well different crops have performed, and they can use all that information to create incredibly accurate predictive models.
So they're not just looking at what's happening right now, they're looking at years of data to anticipate potential problems down the road.
Exactly. It's like having a crystal ball for your crops. Imagine knowing which areas of your field are most susceptible to phytotoxicity before you even plant anything.
Wow.
That's the kind of insight that allows farmers to make smarter decisions about everything, from choosing the right crops to when and how to apply those chemicals.
Incredible. It's like preventative measures on steroids.
Mm.
So it sounds like Farmonaut is really revolutionizing the way farmers manage this whole issue of phytotoxicity.
Hmm.
But how does this technology actually work in practice?
Think of it this way. Each one of those satellite images from Farmonaut is like a snapshot of your crop's health at that moment in time, right? Now imagine taking those snapshots every couple of days and putting them all together to create a time-lapse video.
Okay, I'm with you.
Suddenly, you can see these patterns emerging, these subtle changes over time that you'd never catch with just a single image.
So it's not just seeing the problem, but seeing how it evolves over time.
Precisely. And by combining those visuals with other data, things like weather patterns, soil data, even the farmer's own records of what they've done in the past,
Uh-huh.
then Farmonaut's AI, it can start to put together a very, very detailed picture of what's happening in that field.
It's like having a detective for your crops, constantly analyzing clues.
That's a great way to put it. And that level of insight, it's priceless for farmers. It helps them make better decisions, use their resources more efficiently, and ultimately protect their crops from this hidden threat of phytotoxicity.
This has been fascinating, but I think we've only just scratched the surface of what Farmonaut can do. So we're going to continue our deep dive into this amazing technology in the next part.
And the real beauty of it is it's not just reacting to problems, it's about getting ahead of them.
Yeah. Okay, so we've seen how Farmonaut can be like this incredible scout, spotting phytotoxicity before it takes over the whole field. But what I'm wondering is, how does this translate into action? Like, what can a farmer do with this information?
Well, imagine you're a farmer and you get an alert from Farmonaut, right? And it says, hey, there are some signs of stress showing up in, let's say, the southwest corner of your cornfield.
Okay, what next?
Now, instead of just treating the whole field, you can zoom in, right? Focus on that specific area, go investigate, and only take action where it's needed. Maybe you need to tweak your irrigation there, or maybe there's a nutrient deficiency, or hey, maybe it is phytotoxicity.
So you go from a blanket approach to something much more targeted.
Exactly. And that kind of precision, it's not just good for the crops, it's good for the farmer's bottom line too. I mean, think about how much money you can save by not using chemicals where they're not needed.
Right, less waste, less expense, and it's better for the environment too. Everybody wins.
Exactly. It's a win-win-win. But it goes even further than just reacting to problems. Farmonaut can actually help farmers decide what to plant in the first place, which crops are most likely to do well.
Okay, now how does that work? Are they suggesting specific varieties based on the soil conditions or something?
That's exactly it. They're analyzing all this historical data, years of satellite imagery, weather patterns, soil data, all of that. And Farmonaut's AI can see which crops have thrived in specific areas of the farm in the past and which ones have struggled.
So it's like having a digital record of what's worked and what hasn't, guiding you towards the best choices for the future.
Exactly. And remember those predictive models we talked about? Those come into play here too. They can factor in things like what the farmer is already doing, their management practices, and even the specific chemicals they're planning to use.
So it's not just about the land itself. It's about understanding how all these different pieces fit together. The environment, the crops, and the farmer's own choices.
Exactly. And by pulling all that information together, Farmonaut can help farmers make those decisions. The ones that reduce their risk and give them the best shot at a successful season.
It's like having a virtual agronomist on call 24/7 whispering in your ear, "Hey, this corner of the field, perfect for soybeans this year."
I love that analogy. And it's not just whispering, it's giving them solid advice, recommendations based on years of data and sophisticated analysis.
This is amazing. When we started talking about this, I thought phytotoxicity was just something farmers had to deal with, a problem to solve. But it's so much bigger than that, isn't it?
It really is. We're talking about food security, about making sure we can feed a growing population. We're talking about protecting the environment, using fewer chemicals, less water. And of course, we're talking about the economics of farming, helping farmers stay profitable. It's all connected. And technology like this is how we make a difference.
And Farmonaut is leading the way, it seems. using cutting-edge technology to empower farmers and address these huge challenges facing our entire food system.
Absolutely. Their work is truly groundbreaking. It's exciting to see the impact they're having on farms all over the world.
So have you heard anything from the farmers themselves? Like, what are they saying about using Farmonaut?
One of the things we hear most often is that it gives them peace of mind. Like they finally feel in control. They're not just guessing anymore.
Makes sense. It's like having a safety net, knowing that someone or something is watching over your crops and will alert you if something's off before it becomes a disaster.
Exactly. But it's not just about peace of mind. They're seeing real, tangible results,
Right.
healthier crops, bigger yields, and spending less on inputs. I actually heard from one farmer who said Farmonaut helped him catch a phytotoxicity issue early enough that he was able to save, get this, 80% of his soybean crop.
Wow, that's incredible. That's a real-life example of how this can make or break a season of farmers' livelihood.
Absolutely. And those stories, those are what drive us at Farmonaut. We believe this technology can truly revolutionize agriculture, and we're committed to making that happen.
All right, so we've talked about what Farmonaut does and how it works, but I'm curious about the why. What's the driving force behind this technology? What's their mission? You know?
At its core, Farmonaut is all about giving farmers the tools they need, empowering them to make the best decisions for their farms. They're the backbone of our food system, and they deserve the best.
It's about leveling the playing field a bit, right? Giving smaller farms access to the kind of information and insights that, in the past, maybe only the bigger players had.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just about the individual farmer. It's about creating a food system that's better for everyone. More sustainable, more resilient, more equitable. By helping farmers do better, we all benefit. We waste less, we impact the environment less, and we're more likely to have a secure food supply for everyone.
It's amazing how Farmonaut is connecting all these different dots, from the farmer in the field to the global food system.
It shows that even small changes can have a ripple effect. And when we work together, farmers, scientists, tech people, and even consumers, we can make a real difference. We can build a better future for all of us.
Okay, so Farmonaut is doing some amazing things, but I'm always thinking about what's next. What's on the horizon for them? What are they cooking up in their labs?
Well, one area they're really excited about is using AI, artificial intelligence, to develop even more sophisticated predictive models. Imagine being able to predict not just if phytotoxicity is going to happen, but also what kind of damage it will cause, what the best solutions are, and even how it might affect the yield.
Wow, so those crystal ball predictions we were talking about before, taking them to a whole new level.
Exactly. And it's not just about prediction, right? They're also working on integrating Farmonaut's data with other systems that farmers use to manage their operations. Imagine a world where your irrigation system automatically adjusts based on the real-time crop health data coming from Farmonaut.
It's like everything is talking to each other, all these different parts of the farm working together seamlessly.
Exactly. And then there's the potential of blockchain technology. Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
They're exploring how blockchain could be used to create this super secure and transparent system for tracking our food all the way from the farm to our tables.
So you could like scan a QR code on a package of strawberries and see exactly where they came from, how they were grown, what kind of practices were used.
Exactly. It's about giving consumers more information, more power to make choices about the food they buy.
And as people become more aware of all the work that goes into producing our food,
Yeah,
I think there will be even more demand for food that's grown in a sustainable and ethical way.
absolutely. It's about connecting the dots between the farm and the fork.
Exactly. And that connection is vital for a food system that works for everyone. All right, one last question before we move on. We focused a lot on the benefits for farmers, which is great, but what about the rest of us? Regular folks who just enjoy eating. What does all of this mean for consumers?
That's a great question, and it's an important one. For consumers, I think Farmonaut represents this big step towards a food system that's more transparent and more sustainable.
Can you break that down a bit? What does that look like in practice?
Well, imagine being able to go to the grocery store, pick up a package of, let's say, strawberries again, scan a code on it, and boom, you see exactly where those strawberries came from, how they were grown, what steps were taken to make sure they're safe and high quality. That's transparency.
So it's about giving people the information they need to make informed decisions about the food they're buying.
Exactly. And I think as more people understand the challenges that farmers face, we'll see a growing demand for food that's produced in a way that's good for the planet and good for people.
It's about closing the loop bringing consumers and farmers closer together.
Precisely. And that connection, that's key to a food system that's more resilient and fair for everyone.
All right. This has been incredibly eye-opening. But before we wrap up, I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on the future of phytotoxicity management. Where do you see this going?
Well, one thing's for sure, the future is all about data. We're going to have even more sophisticated sensors out there, more powerful AI algorithms crunching the numbers, and a much deeper understanding of how all these factors interact. The plants, the chemicals, the environment.
So building on what Farmonaut is already doing, taking it even further.
Exactly. And I think we'll also see a big shift towards prevention. Instead of just reacting to problems as they pop up, we'll be able to predict them and avoid them altogether.
So moving from a reactive mindset to a proactive one.
Precisely. And I have no doubt that Farmonaut will be leading the charge, developing new solutions, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. It's all about empowering farmers and building a better future for agriculture.
Welcome back to our deep dive. We've talked a lot about phytotoxicity and how Farmonaut is helping farmers. But I think what a lot of people are wondering is, what does this all mean for the average person? Someone who's not a farmer, but, still cares about where their food comes from.
It's a good question. I mean, how do these advancements in agriculture, how do they actually benefit everyone, not just the folks who are out there growing the food?
Right, exactly. So how do we bridge that gap? We've talked about Farmonaut helping farmers, preventing phytotoxicity, saving them money, increasing their yields. But how does that translate to the food we actually end up eating?
Well, one of the biggest things is that it means a more stable food supply, right?
Okay.
When farmers can manage these issues effectively, they're less likely to have crop losses. So that means a more consistent flow of food from the farms to our tables.
So fewer of those supply chain disruptions that we've been seeing.
Exactly, yeah. And a more reliable supply means more food security for everyone, especially people in communities that might be struggling. But it's not just about how much food is available, it's also about the quality and safety of that food.
Okay, so how does Farmonaut actually play a role in the quality of the food that we eat?
Well, when farmers are making smarter decisions about using chemicals, thanks to Farmonaut's insights, that often leads to fewer pesticide residues on our food. Remember, we talked about those precision applications.
Right, using chemicals only where they're really needed, not just spraying everything.
Exactly. That means less runoff into the environment, and it could mean lower levels of pesticides in the food we're consuming. And that's a good thing for everybody.
Right, a healthier planet, healthier food, healthier people.
Exactly.
Okay, but let's not forget about the economic side of things, right? Food prices have been all over the place lately. Does Farmonaut have any impact there?
Oh, absolutely. When farmers are using their resources more efficiently and losing less of their crops, that makes the whole agricultural industry more efficient. And greater efficiency, well, that usually means lower production costs, and those savings, hopefully, they'll get passed on to us at the grocery store.
Right, so it's not just about making life easier for farmers, it's about making the whole food system more sustainable, more affordable for everyone.
That's it, exactly. And it's about changing the way we think. It's not just about reacting to problems after they happen, but anticipating them, getting ahead of them, and preventing them whenever we can.
Being proactive instead of reactive.
Precisely. And I think that shift, that's going to be key to the future of agriculture.
It's pretty exciting to think about all the possibilities.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm feeling optimistic about the future of agriculture. Farmonaut is a great example of how we can use technology to solve real problems and create a better future for everyone.
I agree. Absolutely. It's a testament to human ingenuity and our ability to adapt and innovate.
And it's a good reminder that we all have a part to play in this, right? Whether we're farmers, scientists, tech folks, or just people who enjoy eating, we can all make choices that support a healthier planet and a more secure and equitable food system for everyone.
Absolutely. And if there's one thing I hope people take away from our deep dive, it's a sense of hope, a feeling of empowerment. The
Yeah.
future of agriculture is bright, and if we work together, we can create a world where everyone has access to good, nutritious food that's grown sustainably.
Absolutely, a vision worth working towards. So thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the fascinating world of phytotoxicity and the incredible work that Farmonaut is doing. We'll see you next time.